On preconceptions. Everyone has preconceptions, and one preconception does not contradict another. I mean, who of us does not assume that what is good is beneficial, and choice in all cases to be desired and pursued? Who of us does not assume that justice is fair and appropriate? So where does conflict come in? In the application of preconceptions to particular cases. One person, for instance, will say, "Well done, there's a brave man." While another says, "He isn't brave, he's just deranged." This is how conflict originates, and it is the source of difference among Jews, Syrians, Egyptians, and Romans. They don't dispute that what is holy should be preferred above everything else, and in every case pursued, but they argue, for example, over whether it is holy or unholy to eat pork. This is also the basis of conflict between Agamemnon and Achilles. Call them up before us. What do you say, Agamemnon? Shouldn't we do what is right and proper? Naturally. What about you, Achilles? Wouldn't you, of all people, say that we ought to do what is appropriate? Of course. All right then, apply your preconceptions. It is just here that conflict starts. Because one says, "I shouldn't have to return Chryseis to her father." And the other says, "Indeed you better." It's obvious that one of them is misapplying his preconception of what is appropriate. Then Agamemnon says, "Fine. If I have to give Chryseis back, then I should get one of the other men's prizes in return." Achilles says, "It's not mine you intend to take, I hope." "Yours, that's right. Why should I be penalized?" "Because it's not right that I should be the only one to go without." And this is how conflicts originate. What does it mean to be getting an education? It means learning to apply natural preconceptions to particular cases as nature prescribes, and distinguishing what is in our power from what is not. The operations of the will are in our power. Not in our power are the body, the body's parts, property, parents, siblings, children, country, or friends. Where should we put the good, then? To which of these two classes of things are we going to assign it? To the class of things in our power. It follows that neither health nor fitness are good, nor are our children, parents, or country. That view isn't going to win you very many friends or converts. Well, let's transfer the designation good to health and other externals and see what happens. Suppose someone meets with misfortune and loses these goods. Can they still be happy? Impossible. You might ask, too, how they will remain on good terms with their neighbors, since we naturally incline to self-interest. And if it is in my own interest to own land, it is in my interest to rob them of it. If it is in my interest to own a coat, it is in my interest to pinch one from the baths. There you have the genesis of wars, factions, and seditions. And how will I be able to stay right with God? Because if I'm harmed and meet with misfortune, I begin to doubt whether He is looking after me. And if He won't help me, why should I give Him my regard? I want nothing to do with a God who allows me to be in my present state. So I begin to hate Him and wonder wonder if the temples and statues we dedicate to him are not intended to placate a malignant force like fever. Honorary titles like Savior, Rainbringer, and Fruitbringer are no longer applicable to him. And all this comes of identifying the good with externals. What should we do? That's the topic of inquiry for the person who is truly out to philosophize and think deep. Now, if I am in the dark as to what is good and bad, I'm crazy. But if I locate the good in the realm of the will, I risk being ridiculed. Some gray old man rattling his gold rings and shaking his head at me will come along and say, "Listen, my boy, philosophy's all right up to a point, but don't get carried away. This question is ridiculous. Philosophers could teach you logic, but you know better than they do the right way to behave." Well, if I know what to do, as you said, don't make an objection if what I choose to do is philosophize. I'm not going to try to engage this fatuous old fool in logic. But if I ignore him altogether, he'll explode in indignation. So I have no choice but to say to him, "Humor me as you would someone in love. I can't help myself. You see, I'm mad."